Once again, welcome to my lecture today. Today I am going to start a new series of lectures related to pet foods. Actually, it is more related to animal byproducts utilization. As you all know, utilization of animal byproducts is very important for economic meat industry. So we have at postgraduate level a course on byproducts utilization both for masters and doctoral student. So this lecture series is for that postgraduate courses, and also it will be very useful for the meat industry or pet food industry. So I am going to have a series of 6 or 7 lectures on pet foods. Today the first one is about the basics of pet foods. So here I will discuss a basic introduction about the pet foods and pet food industry, and then we will see briefly about the history of pet foods and types and classification of pet foods, little details about the different kind of pet foods like dried, moist, semi-moist pet foods, and then briefly we will see about the marketing and nutritional formulation and the advantages and disadvantages some of these different kind of pet foods. To start with the introduction, the pet food is a specialty type of food for domesticated pet animals that is formulated according to their nutritional needs. So their nutritional need is a different aspect I am going to discuss in a separate lecture for pet nutrition. Now the pet food generally consists of meat or meat origin byproducts because all these animals are non-vegetarians. So foods of animal origin or animal proteins are very important for their proper nutritional requirement. In addition to that, there will be cereals, grain, and especially vitamins and minerals are to be added. Generally, the pet owners can choose from pet food products of different variety. They can be dry, moist, semi-moist, canned, and sometimes there are pet snacks which do not fulfill all the nutritional requirements but add some variety. So all these things we are going to discuss briefly today and more details in other lectures. So in continuation about the introduction about pet food, they are specifically designed for the animal and for their consumption of the domesticated pets. Usually they are specific to the type of animal, such as specific for canines or for dogs or cats, and also nowadays there are ornamental fish, for that also fish feed, etc. So these are specifically designed for the pet animals. Meat used for animals here is a byproduct of the meat industry, so they may not be always the prime meat, the secondary quality of meat or the byproducts which is not suitable for human, that is only used here. And the pet market in India mostly dominated by few companies like Drool, Pedigree, Royal Canin, Pure Pet and Himalaya. These are some of the well-known brand which is dominating the supply of ready pet foods. So briefly let us know about the pet foods industry. So India in 2022, the market size of pet foods is almost 20,000 crore and it is growing fast at an annual rate of 6% and likely to reach about 28,600 crore by 2028. In 2021, India imported pet food worth of 900 crore. So these two figures apparently showing us the size and value and importance of pet food. Therefore, it is a high potential, and the byproducts from meat industry has got a very high value for proper utilization and economic utilization. Particularly the cereal based pet foods are not very suitable nutritionally because most of the cereals are having deficiency of some or other essential amino acids. So they alone cannot make good pet foods and to fulfill the nutritional standards. And further, there is issues of palatability and digestibility and sometimes the safety. So most of these proteins from plant origin, digestibility is less and palatability is less. So these pet animals must need some proteins from animal origin like meat or byproducts. Here we will see a brief history of pet foods. The first time the dry pet food as kibble was produced by extrusion method in 1956, and later in 1960 the first pet food specifically formulated for the unique nutritional needs of puppies in 1960. In 1960 also the semi-moist pet food was introduced, but in 1980 the US National Academy of Sciences, that is National Research Council, published the nutritional requirements for dogs and cats, and it is further updated in 2006. So the details about the nutritional requirement first time published in 1980, and in a separate lecture we will discuss little bit details about the nutritional standards for the pet animals. Now we will discuss about the types or classification of pet food with little bit details. The first category is raw pet food. Here the pet food that has not undergone any heat or preservation treatment, and it is prepared with or without any added ingredients, and it is stored either chilled or frozen. The examples are raw meat as such, or meat chunks, or raw offal. So without any heat treatment or preservation, just they are packed and stored either chilling and freezing. That is the raw pet food. Then the second category is canned pet food. It's a high heat processing under sealed container or nowadays under pouches. So earlier days it is done in a retort processing in a sealed can. Nowadays it is done in retort pouches. So it's a high heat processing and it's a self-stable in room temperature. Moisture content can be 60 to 75%. They are like canned dog food or cat food in pouches, as I mentioned. The third category is heat treated and refrigerated pet food. So they are partially heat treated, they are wet and stored at refrigerator. So they can be just pasteurized, so it is not fully sterilized, and they should be stored in chilled or frozen condition. The moisture content can be 60 to 75%. The example is like chilled dog rolls. In continuation about the types of pet foods or classification, the next category is dry pet food. The common well-known brand is Kibbles. These are mostly extruded, dried or baked product. They are self-stable at ambient temperature because they are heat treated, and the moisture content will be below 10%, so they are self-stable. So examples are dog biscuits, kibble. The another variety is freeze-dried pet food. Here there may or may not be heat treatment prior to freeze drying. So generally they will be first frozen and then they will be dried under high vacuum. So they are again self-stable at room temperature and moisture percent will be below 10%. The examples are freeze-dried meat or chunks. Another variety, the semi-moist pet foods and treats. They are heat treated and they will have additional hurdles for preservation, like to reduce the water activity or to reduce the pH, some preservatives etc. are used. The moisture content will be 25 to 35%. So these are again self-stable dog rolls, chunks or soft jerky, but because the moisture is little higher, so it may not be long storage. Now we will discuss little more details about different type of pet food. The first one is the dry pet food. The common brand is Kibble. So here the dry food is the most economical type of commercial dog food, and it also lasts for a long time. We can store it for a long time, 10 to 12 months, because it has a very low moisture, like below 10%, and it does not need any refrigeration because it contains only 10% moisture and it is already heat processed, so there will be no microbial contamination. So these dry food can also help to keep the dog's teeth healthy, since the chewing crunchy dry food help in reducing the tartar buildup. So tartar buildup is a common problem in canines. So this kind of food helps in keeping the dental health better. The other variety is wet pet food. That is, the canned food is the most suitable example. So here it is a long shelf life. The meat chunks are sealed in the can, as you can see in the photographs, and then it is processed at high temperature with complete sterilization. So this is a very good preference for the dogs because of its palatability, and it can be stored for 3 to 5 years, though the moisture content is almost 75%. But because moisture is very high, so the concentration of nutrients will be less. Here the main criteria considered for canned food is amount of digestible protein. So how much digestible protein is present, that is important. So mostly the pure meat pieces or byproduct pieces are partially added with other ingredients and sealed in the can and processed by sterilization. All these things we are going to discuss in details in separate lecture. The another variety is the semi-moist pet food. These are the commercial dog foods. We can see that is pork chops, burger or other meaty foods. They are called as semi-moist. They are generally not so good nutritionally because there will be so many other additives will be there, plus artificial flavors and colorings will be there, and they can be given as an occasional treat but should not be considered in regular diet because these food products will not fulfill all the nutritional requirements. So there are other types of pet foods like frozen food or fresh prepared. They come in raw or cooked form, some of which is made with ingredients that are inspected and approved and certified by authority for human consumption but formulated for pets. Similarly, there is a home cooked pet foods, and home cooked diets allow the owner to know exactly what the dog eats and to be absolutely sure that pets' nutritional needs are being met. There are still other variety of pet foods like dehydrated or freeze dried. They come in raw and cooked form. The products are usually air dried or frozen and then dehydrated by freeze drying to reduce moisture. So this kind of dehydrated or freeze dried pet foods are also there. Similarly, there is vegetarian dog foods which is produced to assure pet owner ethical concerns or sometime due to allergies, etc. They are usually balanced and contain ingredients such as oatmeal, pea protein and other protein substitutes. So these are some of the other varieties of pet foods. Here we will see the specific classification given by Bureau of Indian Standards in 2019. So according to BIS, pet food for dogs and cats can be classified based on age and shall be of two types, namely complete dog food and complete cat food. So this is as per the regulatory authority. Bureau of Indian Standard is the regulatory authority. They make standard for human foods and also pet food. So they have specified the classification based on age for the dogs and cats separately, which we are going to see the next. So here is the specification for complete dog food as per BIS 2019. Here for the age of 6 weeks to 24 months, a ration to be fed to puppies for the age of 6 weeks to 24 months depending on the breed. Similarly, a ration to be fed to dogs after reaching adulthood depending on the breed. So this is the specific guideline from BIS for the young one and for the adult. So here about the complete cat food as per BIS 2019, they have given a ration to be fed to kittens between the age of 6 weeks to 12 months depending on the breed, and the adult is after reaching adulthood a specific ration to be fed depending on the breed. So there should be two specific pet food separately for young and the adult, both in case of dogs and in case of cat. Here we will briefly talk about the animal byproducts and the pet food market. As I have mentioned, our main motto in this lecture is to discuss about the utilization of meat industry byproducts in pet food. So at the beginning I have told about the market potential. There is a huge market for pet food in India, and there is import of pet foods from Asian countries by the developed countries. So for India, there is a potential market for pet foods to export. Therefore, the animal byproducts, which is comparatively cheaper, can be used for manufacture of different kind of pet foods profitably, and that will give a potential income by export. The advantages here is the better balance of amino acids. All these animal origin proteins are rich in essential amino acids and fatty acids, essential fatty acids, and they are also the very good source of vitamins and minerals. So pets required all these amino acids, fatty acids and vitamins and minerals, which can be fulfilled through addition of byproducts in the pet food. So here briefly we will discuss about the nutrients requirements and their sources for the pet foods, and all this we are going to discuss in details in byproduct processing in pet foods or use of byproducts in pet foods. So here the pet food formulation, the protein requirement is about 20 to 35% in the food, and the fat requirement 3 to 15%, and carbohydrate 15 to 35%. The sources of all these nutrients are major animal byproducts or animal other second quality meat products, then the vegetable products or cereals and grains and other synthetic products. So these are the basic aspect for formulation of pet foods as per their nutrient requirement and the source of these nutrients. So here briefly we will talk about the dry pet food, and in a later lecture we will discuss in details about their processing. So dry pet food is a most important and dominant pet food in the market, which makes about 80% of the total market share. They are very popular, and especially the extruded pet food. I am going to have a separate lecture on extruded pet food. And then in this extruded pet food, they are prepared by exploding, and they are light, they are popped and very palatable. So the pets like it very much. The major ingredients in dry pet foods are animal byproducts, other added fats and oils, milk products or milk byproducts, then cereal byproducts, and soybean or soybean byproducts. So these are the major ingredients which are mixed and extruded and made into dry pet food. Here briefly we will discuss about processing of dry pet food. Firstly, all the ingredients should be collected as per formulation together, and they are made into a dough, and then they can be given into shape by pressing like biscuits and different shape, and then they are baked in hot air oven about 150 degrees Celsius for 90 minutes. In case of meal, it is cooked under pressure, and in case of extruded pet food, these ingredients are mixed together, and there it mixed automatically everything and extrude, and during the extrusion process at high heat temperature it get cooked or baked. So it is simultaneously everything is done, heating, cooking, drying by an expansion. Here briefly we will discuss about the semi-moist pet food processing. There are basically two methods are there. One is to prepare the slurry, and then it is extruded mostly by manually operating, not like actual automatic extrusion. And the other option is by humectants diffused into the meats. It's a chemical mixture which is diffused into the meat, which will absorb the moisture. They are called humectants. So here the ingredients like meat, fat, emulsifier, humectant, all together they are mixed and pasteurized. Then the other ingredients are added, and then it is cooked in cooker or extruder. So the keeping quality will be less here because it will have a moisture of 25 to 35%. It also depends on the pH, water activity and moisture content, and other preservative like anti-mycotics, that is the antifungal preservatives is very important because it has got higher moisture, so easily it may grow fungus. So now we will discuss briefly about the wet pet food or canned, as we have already discussed about the dry and semi-moist. We have already discussed about the canning of meat. This is a very big and old technology. Here the food is partially heated and then sealed into container, totally impermeable to air, moisture, anything, and it is heat processed at a high temperature leading to sterilization. So here the texture flavor will be similar to meat and it will be having a very good palatability, very long storage life because it is completely sterile. We can store it for even up to 3 years. But only thing is, once the cans are opened, the preservation is difficult and it should be finished or it should be stored under refrigerator. So generally it may cause overcooking or more tender soft. So sometimes it is less popular, the canned pet food. So now we are at the end of this lecture. Today I have tried to make the beginning of a series. So we are going to have series of lecture on pet foods in connection with the utilization of animal byproducts. So meat industry generates huge amount of byproducts, and for the postgraduate students we have separate course for masters and PhD students on utilization of byproducts, and there is a one important topic is in the use of byproducts in pet foods. So in this series today, first we have discussed basics about the pet foods, that is what is pet food, what is the pet food industry, what is the history of pet food, then classification of pet food, different category like dry, semi-dry, moist, and little bit details about these pet foods. And later we have discussed about the basic nutrients and the formulation, and briefly we have discussed about the preparation of dry pet foods or moist pet foods or canned or wet pet foods. So all these things we are going to have separate lecture in separate topic, like about the pet nutrition, then about the use of byproducts in pet food. We will have a separate topic on pet food processing with addition of byproducts, and finally we will have a quality control and regulations in pet foods, and if possible another separate lecture only on nutritional standards for pet foods. Thank you.